Hi, I'm Ken Martin, and I first of all want to thank you for tuning in to the DFL weekly message, The Chair's Corner. This week in St. Paul, Republicans continued their efforts to change our state's constitution to create obstacles and prevent hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans from voting. And just 1 year ago, we witnessed a similar battle that resulted in the Minnesota GOP putting a divisive anti-marriage constitutional amendment on the ballot this November. Today, I am joined by Richard Carlbom, my friend who is the campaign manager for the Minnesotans United for All Families campaign. They're dedicated to defeating this amendment this November. Thank you so much for joining us, Richard.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it, and it's an honor to be here with you today.
Thank you. Your campaign has been working hard to create a strong and expansive coalition. Can you talk a little bit more about how the coalition has grown and what types of organizations have joined you in this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started with as just a few small LGBT organizations, and now we have over 230 organizations who are members of the Minnesotans United for All Families Coalition. We're a very diverse coalition. We have faith groups like Lutherans, Concerned North America, Catholics for Marriage Equality, the entire Episcopal Church of Minnesota, and Jewish Community Action. We have labor groups, and we have business leaders. We have arts groups and environmental groups, and we have actually representatives from all major political parties in Minnesota. We're all very, very united, though, and we may not agree on much, but we agree on one thing, and we agree that we need 1.4 million no votes in November of 2012.
Right. And what I think is really important is the point you made about the fact that this is just not a DFL issue or a partisan issue, that it's really broad-based, that in terms of equality and recognizing full marriage equality and the need to beat back this amendment, the fact of the matter is that people are dedicated to this from all political stripes, from all backgrounds, and from all walks of life throughout the state of Minnesota. And I really want to just say thank you for putting together that type of coalition and that type of campaign, because that's what it's going to take to win.
Absolutely. The fact of the matter is this is a personal issue for a lot of people. How they're going to vote on this in November, most people arrive at that decision through a personal connection or a personal understanding of this very important issue about who should have the freedom to marry in our state. And so that's why it cuts across faith lines, it cuts across all demographics you can think of, including political party. And so we are focused on going out there and finding the number of votes we need to win, no votes we need to win on Election Day. And, it's going to come from all walks of life in Minnesota. And that's why I'm happy that we are truly the broadest based group out there in terms of advocating on one side or the other.
And this really is about the Minnesota we love and making sure that we protect that, and that we, at the end of the day, make sure that future generations can continue to benefit from a state that we're all proud to live in. So thank you again for. Speaking of voters, how are you reaching out to voters in this campaign, and what are you hearing from people across the state?
Well, the energy out there in Minnesota when it comes to a no vote on this question is amazing. So Minnesotans from all across the state know that the freedom to marry is something that we don't want to limit for future generations. And that's really what this question is about. This question is about whether or not this, in 2012 and this year, we will limit the freedom of future generations of Minnesotans. And so we're very excited to have grassroots activism popping up all over the place. This is a state that believes in talking with your neighbor and actually impacting election results by having one-on-one conversations, and that's our strategy to win. We know that when somebody has a conversation about this issue, about why marriage matters and why people should vote no and not limit the freedom of other Minnesotans, we win. We win people who've had a conversation, and so that's what we're encouraging. We're encouraging everybody everywhere across Minnesota, in the metro, in the suburbs, and in greater Minnesota, to have this conversation, to not be afraid to open up and actually talk to your friends, family, and neighbors about why voting no is so important to you.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people have different definitions of marriage. For me, it's really about love and commitment, period. And it doesn't matter, obviously, if it's two same-sex people or a heterosexual couple. Love and commitment should be honored in this state, and we shouldn't discriminate. What does marriage mean to you personally?
Well, actually, I agree with you, Ken, and I think most Minnesotans would come down where you're at. Marriage in Minnesota, marriage to me, is about love and commitment and protecting my family. I am engaged to my partner Justin of 5 years, and marriage to us is something that is about love, commitment, and protecting our family. And we want the freedom to marry, not because we want to change anything. We want to join marriage. Marriage is something that marriage is a word that actually says something about how much you love somebody and how deeply you're committed to them, like no other word in our society. And so marriage is something that Justin and I aspire to join. It's an institution that we find honorable, and it's an institution that we hope to one day be allowed to and be provided the freedom to join.
Absolutely. What are some of the most important things that we can do, people watching this video, to help the campaign as we move into this election cycle?
It's so important to have a conversation. And don't assume that you know how somebody's going to vote. As I said earlier, people come about this issue in many different ways. And I made the mistake of assuming that somebody was going to vote yes. So I didn't reach out to them. And later they came up to me with tears streaming down their face, 67-year-old Vietnam veteran, and he said, I fought next to my best friend in Vietnam who happened to be gay. Don't think for 1 second I'm not going to walk every step of the way in this campaign with you. So people out there who you might assume will be a yes vote, and it's a difficult conversation, so you should avoid, they might actually be there with you, and they might actually want to have the information needed so they can go out and have their own conversations. Again, it's so important to talk to people about this issue. It's not necessarily the easiest conversation, but once you have it with one person, the next conversation is easier, and the next conversation after that is even easier.
Excellent. Well, what does it mean for Minnesotans and Minnesota to defeat this anti-marriage constitutional amendment? What will it mean for our state?
Well, what it will say about Minnesota is that we are the first state in this country to ever defeat it. There have been 29 states in this country who have voted on language just like this. And in Minnesota in 2012, we have the opportunity to be the first state ever to say we don't want to limit the freedoms of our fellow Minnesotans. We don't want to limit the freedom of future generations. In 2012, Minnesota can be the first state, not the 30th state, but the first state ever to defeat one of these things. And it will say to people across the country that the Midwest is about love, commitment, it's about freedom and liberty, and it's about the opportunity for people to live and to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Richard, I want to thank you so much for your passion,
Thank you.
Everything you're doing to improve the quality of life in this state for all Minnesotans, everything you're doing to build this campaign. I'm so proud, I'm so impressed, and I look forward to working with you in a continued way throughout the course of the summer and fall to beat back this amendment. I hope you'll join the Minnesotans United for All Families campaign. Visit their website, donate, and volunteer. Stand up for all families and move this state forward in November by voting no on this anti-marriage amendment. Thank you for watching our weekly message, and I hope you have a great weekend. See you next week.